Hello. Hello, fellow nerds.
Hello.
Our setup looks way different, doesn't it? We've had another child since I thought it was streaming games, but maybe since we streamed last. Together, we've had another child. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time we streamed.
Yeah, I'd have to really think about it. But nonetheless, yeah, we're in this new setup. We actually use this for another purpose. But yeah, it's good to be here. We're going to be going over a few different things today, and we're bringing back the nerdy Cantina, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I think this is going to be really cool because we're going to be able to talk about some books that we're reading right now in the EU. Mm-hmm. Currently, we're going through the Jedi Apprentice series, so we're going to be able to read or talk about those. There are actually some new things. One thing in particular that we'll talk about, even though we don't really do news at all. This is it's pretty relevant. Talking about film restoration and like an official film restoration coming for A New Hope, and then also, which I'm excited for at the very end, we're going to be looking at some Star Wars hot takes. Have hundreds and hundreds. We're not going through all of them today, but we have a ton to go through, which is super cool. And I see, you know what? I'm going to try this out with one chat. I'm going to see if this works. I see Brother Alan. Let's see. Hey, I figured it out. It works. Check that out. Good evening. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work or if this is going to fail and crash the whole system. We'll see. But let's get started and let's start talking about the Jedi Apprentice series. So we've actually been reading these at night as like a bedtime story, which is pretty cool.
With our boys, obviously the 5-year-old is really the only one that's like...
Yeah, he's the only one really aware.
But he does pass out pretty quick.
Yeah, they really kind of started for him because he wanted Star Wars bedtime stories. Mm-hmm. And we did that a while ago, but I think it was maybe too intense, like the different books and stuff that I was choosing. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's actually been really cool to go through it. And so maybe a parent hack, that's a great way to actually like read through the books in a very...
it's been awesome.
Yeah, very timely fashion. But yeah, well, let's talk about the Jedi Apprentice series. So if you don't know, this is pre-Disney. This is a young readers, maybe could be considered like young adult readers series. I think there's like 20 books in this series. They started in 99, and they were getting cranked out in the 90s. Like I think the first 4 came out in 1999. Oh wow! So yeah, they came out pretty quickly. The first one has a different author, as Dave Wolverton, I think is that his last name. But anyway, and then it's Jude Watson. She wrote all the other ones. But they're fantastic. Mm-hmm. They really are. And it focuses pre-Phantom Menace on Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan.
A young Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Before he's even a Padawan. Mm-hmm. And so let's get into it. You've been actually the one doing like the reading, the read-alouds, right? Which is really cool. Yeah. And I have notes because we're parents of 3, and so it was like... It's bedtime when we're reading through these, so like I'm like I need to keep to some notes to keep things straight.
Well, and they all start to mesh together, and it's like,
they do.
Did this happen in?
Yeah, and we're going through them pretty quick, but today we're just going to talk about a couple of them. So when we're looking at this first one here, when we are looking at the Rising Force, essentially this is before Obi-Wan is accepted as Qui-Gon's Padawan.
I think he's still 12, so he's not even 13 yet.
Yeah, and so what's interesting about this is that you get into like how Padawans are chosen, this like that selection process, and essentially he's not chosen.
Poor Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and you have the whole, God, what is his? Is it Bruck? What was that guy's name?
Well, I just make up all the pronunciations.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Whatever that guy's name. There's this other Padawan who's he's maybe a little better than Obi-Wan in terms of like some of the actual skills, but he's kind of a jerk.
Yes.
And he just wants to sabotage Obi-Wan, essentially. And so him and Obi-Wan get in some tussles and they get in some fights. Anyway, Obi-Wan isn't chosen as a Padawan. He really wants to be Qui-Gon's Padawan, but
Qui-Gon chooses no one when he visits.
Yeah, that was interesting because I don't know, it just plays into the allure and mystery, I guess, of the fact that he can just say like, no, I'm not going to pick a Padawan. I don't know enough to know if that's like par for the course with the Jedi or not. But nonetheless, Obi-Wan gets reassigned to the Agriculture Corps, the Agro Corps. Basically, they're not failed Padawans, but they kind of are failed Padawans in a sense where it's like they couldn't go through and get picked. So then they go and they serve in all these different ways.
Right.
And basically, Obi-Wan, when they're traveling, they get basically pirates attack. Actually, sorry, let me back up. Qui-Gon is going to Bandamere, this planet, and Yoda is sending Obi-Wan to Bandamere. And Qui-Gon and Yoda are talking, and Yoda's basically like, hey, trust the Force.
Right.
Kind of a thing when it's like, like, okay, we know obviously because of Phantom Menace that they end up together, but it's like, okay, I'm seeing this play out. It's pretty cool. And yeah, so then there's an emergency crash on this undeveloped planet on their way to Bandamere, and then this is where you just have all of this kind of crazy stuff that's happening there. And the whole book basically ends with, I think this is one where he calls him Padawan. Doesn't he at the end of this one? He doesn't choose him as Padawan, or is that the next one?
He chooses him in the next, I believe at the end of the next one. Yeah.
But they still aren't together yet, but what's really cool about this at the very end, you hear about Xanatos. So you hear about Qui-Gon's failed Padawan from before, his fallen Padawan. So it introduces that whole dynamic, of like a fallen Padawan, and that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But that I'm brushing over some points, but why don't you fill in any plot points that I missed, and then you've been loving the series, so talk to us about that.
Well, like I said, it's hard for me to fill in plot points because I mix them all together.
Sure.
So specifically about this one. But overall, like with the series and even the first book, so the Rising Force of the series was so enjoyable. Like I couldn't put it down. I had to because my son fell asleep, but I didn't want to put it down. And it's just super cool to see Obi-Wan as a young boy, 12. He gets to 13, I think, in the second book. I think he turns 13. But to see him as a 12-year-old and kind of see, he struggles with anger and how whatever that guy's name is.
Yeah, I don't know. The jerk.
How he's trying to, antagonize him and play off that so that Obi-Wan doesn't get chosen. And then to see, because when we meet Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace, he's pretty, he's still young, but he's very mature. He's pretty calm. He's cool. He's collected. And then so then when I'm reading this, I'm like, wow, like how far he's come. But then like we were talking about earlier, it gives us insight to then how he was with Anakin. Probably because he's like, man, I've kind of been here, like letting your emotions control you and having to overcome that and get through that. So I really like thinking, while I'm reading, thinking about where he is now, but also where he ends up in the, even, in the original trilogy. Then he's this wise, Jedi master. And yeah, I just really like Obi-Wan's arc. And then obviously Qui-Gon's as well, to even know that, how he was so hesitant to take on Obi-Wan, because by the time we see him in Phantom Menace, they seem pretty close and connected. So it's crazy to, obviously there's always a story before but it's really cool to get that background.
Yeah, and I did think it was really interesting too. Yeah, how it's crazy is not the right word, but I don't know, just like youthful and kind of impulsive, I guess Obi-Wan is. But
he sounds like a normal kid.
Yeah, I mean, he's 12 years old.
Right.
And yeah, in the next, I think it is in the next one where, it's his birthday and he wants Qui-Gon to like know it's his birthday and stuff. And it's like
his internal dialogue.
Yeah. But I definitely, you see when you get to the Phantom Menace and you have the dialogue between, I mean, just right off the bat, right on, when they're going to like talk to the Trade Federation and all this, just like right off the bat, you have Qui-Gon essentially telling him like my paraphrase, like you need to slow down, you need to center yourself on the moment. And this book kind of like, it feels like it's like fleshing that out and making that feel like a really normal progression where it's like, that makes so much sense because you get to see him on these different adventures.
Right.
And yeah, you definitely see that. But what's cool is you definitely are seeing Obi-Wan is qualified to be a Padawan. That's for sure. Like just the way he's willing to sacrifice him for others and the way he wants to follow Qui-Gon and all of this. Even though he's supposed to be going to the Agro Corps or whatever, it's pretty cool to see that.
We get introduced to Jemba in this one, right? Jemba.
Yeah.
Hut.
Or is that? Yeah. Yep. That is this one. Cause he's
on the transport.
Yes.
Shuttle thing when Obi-Wan's on his way to the Agro Corps and Jemba like beats him up, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's definitely interesting too to see like Huts in that kind of a dynamic too, because
when I'm reading it, I'm picturing a large hut like Jabba, because I mean I know there's other huts, I've seen them in Clone Wars and stuff, but they're all kind of large. But then you were showing me pictures of these like muscular huts, and I just can't. My brain doesn't compute that. So then I'm like,
for real,
Obi-Wan's getting shoved around by this slug, this big old worm slug. But this guy Jumbo is probably, I guess, not as fat as Jabba.
I mean, so we've been playing like tabletop RPGs. I've been reading the West End game stuff for a bit just because of the lore, but we actually started playing like a tabletop RPG for Star Wars. And that said, you can be a Hutt. And I'm looking at like the dexterity checks, like, okay, how quickly can they move in their strength and all this? And so like in universe lore, they're pretty strong and they can move pretty decently.
So it's just Jabba.
And I don't know if Jabba just chooses to not move,
to be rolled,
to be served, but
right.
I mean, clearly they have to be moved around, but yeah, there are more like muscular ones, but
that was crazy to be like introduced to Hutts in a different way, and I guess see how agile they are. I mean, Obi-Wan was not like a full force Padawan Jedi, but like he's a force sensitive youngling who's been training in the temple and got beat up by a Hutt.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. And my screen's far away, so I can't exactly see your name. But you're saying, hey, I remember seeing that book cover back in the day. Yeah, and this is what's so crazy about these two is you have like, I'm thinking of like the Scholastic book fairs.
Those were so cool. I loved those.
If you're old enough to remember those, hopefully they still exist in public schools. I don't know.
I have no idea.
But that was like what was it, like a week before you would get the like booklet?
The booklet, yes.
And you would, just like Christmas, you'd like circle everything you want, go to your parents and be like, okay, here's what I want. And in the library, they set up that corner and, they had all these books and stuff. And these are Scholastic books. What I don't remember though, I don't remember like seeing these at my book fair. I feel like I would have gotten them as a kid.
What we were 9, 10.
Yeah, like 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, it would have been like, yeah, later elementary school. But
yeah,
I don't remember seeing them. But yeah, it's just crazy. But yeah, Scholastic book fairs. These would have been there. You would have been able to just pull them right off the shelf, pick them up.
Dang.
What's cool is that they even have like iron-on things and posters, so you can like, you know, I don't know. That'd be cool. Just be such an ugly shirt, but it'd be such a cool shirt to have this iron-on piece. So
it would be amazing.
Yeah, super super cool. Yeah, so essentially this is the first book that is showing, first out of 20 books, you know, what's going to be like 5 years of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. And I don't know if...
Does this timeline lead right up to Phantom Menace, like the last book?
I actually don't know if it does. I can check that really quick. We have the book for it, but I'm not sure. I would think it takes it, right to it, because we're pretty close to it. But even though it's a young reader's book, a young adult book, right? I think maybe more young adult or like a youth novel is more appropriate. It doesn't read like it.
Mm-mm.
It reads really quickly. It does.
There's some like bigger words in there, like not just like common words.
And what's good is, I don't know if it's intentional, but it's at a reading level to where it can like stretch maybe like a late elementary or early teen vocabulary, so that's good on that side, like if you're interested in that. But the pacing is great. It's seriously good, and I know that these are highly regarded as well, and well-deserved highly regarded. They're just fantastic books. And what I like is that it's showing like long character growth, like it's showing long arcs, and it feels really true to George Lucas in that there's a lot of world building. It's heavy fantasy as well. It's not like hard sci-fi, like it doesn't feel out of place. Right. There's so many things where I'm just like, man, we're saying so many words and reading so many names and places.
Oh, I know.
I don't know what this is about. I don't know where these places are. Or so many alien species.
Right.
And
I'm trying to envision all these species too.
Yeah, and so this...
Because we also get introduced to C. Tremba. I think that's how I read his name.
Yeah, that is right. And I had to put it down here. Arcona Minor. Yeah, he was
and I could never figure out how to say what his species was. I think I said it different every single time it came out.
But this is one where maybe we should start doing this. Read it with like the essential species or the essential aliens guide, which we have, or like read it with your phone so you could like check out these different species and things. But yeah, pretty awesome book. I think if you can, absolutely check it out.
But I think before we move on, because in our notes, I think it's really important to look at the character themes for specifically Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and then stay on that as we go through and just see how they develop. So even thinking about Obi-Wan, he starts, very kind of impatient, impulsive. He just wants to become a Jedi. He's a good kid, and he's also strong, and he has all these good qualities too. But then you see him getting frustrated, which was interesting for Obi-Wan, being this like fear being left behind. And you get to see just a different side of him, which is really cool. And you see how he struggles a little bit with obedience and impatience. So he's a little impatient, but throughout in this book specifically, he starts to learn how to be a little bit more humble instead of just ambitious and going after what he wants. And he starts to learn to be a servant rather than just wanting status. And he's less concerned about his ego. Well, you still see it. He's a kid, but it's a slow process and this slow growth you start to see in this book. And that his worth is proven after failure, not before. And that's such a good lesson for all of us. And there's so many good quotes in all these books. Yeah, we're gonna have so many Star Wars wisdoms. Yeah, there's gonna be EU Star Wars wisdoms, basically. Yes. Yeah, and to that point, so much character growth takes place because of failings. Yep. Which is how true is that in real life? Yeah, it's very unique. And like you were talking about before, like this is what young kids need to be like reading.
Mm-hmm.
And like not necessarily just Star Wars. Like obviously we're biased to Star Wars, but books where you see, you know, there's a process and there is failure. Adults need to read that too. We need to be reminded of that.
What I like about it is, okay, so it depends on how you watched the movies, right? I guess if you were reading these books as they came out, I guess you would be reading some before, or it might have been right after.
Phantom Menace came out in 99.
So maybe you would have come like right after you would have started reading these, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would have seen Obi-Wan, but like if you started with the original trilogy, which I think you should, but like if you start there, then you have this mythic figure and guide and just like insane Jedi that's Obi-Wan.
Yes.
And then you go to the prequels and you do see his immaturity in Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
And you see him kind of reluctantly take on Anakin.
Right.
And then you see him grow, and then you see the tragedy by the time you get hit Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love about these books is that you don't see where it's like, oh, Obi-Wan is like amazing.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh no, he's
best pupil at the temple.
Like he was rejected.
Yep.
And then he was kind of thrust into this adventure
Mm-hmm.
and this journey. And so it does make him feel more, it puts him in place in the universe as opposed to like, wow, the stars just lined up for him,
right?
You know, perfectly. And, you know, I can't glean anything from that.
Right.
Instead, no,
I do not relate.
He feels like a real person. I feel like I'm talking about a real person.
Right.
When I talk about Obi-Wan.
But you should talk too about Qui-Gon.
Yeah, sure. With Qui-Gon, he's interesting because he's not. We know this about him, but you see it more. He's not like an orthodox Jedi. He's more guided by the living force, and that becomes a theme following him and Obi-Wan, where he very much is like teaching him how to be aware of the living force, as opposed to this orthodoxy to the Jedi,
right?
To the Jedi way. And you definitely see because of his failings, you know, that's very vague right now.
Right.
But because of his failings with the former Padawan, he doesn't really want to take on another one. So it's not just like, no, I want to do my own thing. He's kind of grieving in a sense, like, man, this really terrible thing happened. And the book ends with a letter from Xanatos to Qui-Gon. Maybe a spoiler alert, but essentially it's like, hey, basically, I'll see you soon.
Yep.
And it's like, oh,
like,
shoot.
who the heck is this guy?
And it's
what's happening?
It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, good thing we have the next book already. We didn't
I know,
we
didn't. You only had to wait a couple months, but still, this would have been a one where you fill out that book card on the back for the book club and get them sent to you regularly. But you definitely see that he puts a strong emphasis on like somebody's character development, on empathy, things like that.
Right.
And you can see that he's not like emotionally reactive to choosing Obi-Wan, that he's actually being very deliberate in this kind of process, because obviously he didn't choose him in Coruscant, and then on their way to Bandamir, and you know, they're on this planet and they're dealing with all this stuff. It's cool, but I think Qui-Gon, he's serving. You have the Jedi Council and kind of the way they function. He's serving as that counterpoint to it, where like, he's functioning in his own unique way.
But he's respected.
Yeah.
And it's not like necessarily rebellious either.
Yeah, and we could get into a whole debate on it. I know people call him like the gray Jedi and all this, and some people are like, there is no gray Jedi. But I think if you love Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, but especially Qui-Gon, you should read these books.
Yes.
Absolutely. Like you literally, you hear Liam Neeson. You read it and you're like, this is crazy. Like I hear Qui-Gon. Like I can see him doing all this.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they're fantastic.
Yes.
So we're going to go on to the next one here, Dark Rival. So this one, I mean, first off, this cover. Come on, right? Not all of these covers, like when we're looking at this is a okay cover for 99. You know, it's pretty cool, young Obi-Wan there. but this is like, whoa, what's going on?
Cool.
So this is taking place like immediately after the Rising Force, and so this is where basically we're on Bandamere, right? And this mining world, and there's the Off-World Mining Corporation, and you have a lot of interesting people in this because you have Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, obviously, and Xanatos comes in on this one, and basically he's trying to show at first that he's like a good guy.
Yeah.
And even Qui-Gon, it's like, I can't really like sense any deception, but knows like this has got to be a setup.
Qui-Gon knows something's up.
Yeah. Because isn't Xanatos' whole thing like, where he's like, hey, basically, like, I've been so successful here, like, because he's representing the corporation or
Off-World.
Yeah. And he's like, I've basically been so successful. Look at me, and kind of.
But like in the opening meeting.
Yeah.
With Klata and Sontag.
Look at you.
I don't know how to say their names. Like I said, I make them up. But yeah, when he first he shows up late, so they don't even know who they're meeting.
Yeah.
And then Xanatos walks in, and obviously Qui-Gon knows of him. And yeah, I think he is somewhat trying to, I don't know. I feel like he's honestly just coming in. He's not trying to show off necessarily. I think he's trying to mess with Qui-Gon. Mess with his brain.
This, I don't feel like, sometimes when the dark side, like when you think of like the OT, right? I feel like the dark side represents like temptation. I feel like with Xanatos, it's like intimidation. Like I don't feel like he's trying to get him to fall to the dark side. I think it's like maybe it's just my interpretation. But I feel like it's
question things and take him off his game.
Yeah, because inevitably he wants to take him out. You know, and that's kind of the way I saw that. And then, but yeah, so basically they're investigating like sabotage and corruption that's going on. And Xanatos does have kind of more of a forward role in this, and you're seeing him. Basically, then Obi-Wan is kind of struggling with insecurity during this. I mean, because he hasn't been chosen, and then there's this guy Xanatos in the picture now, who, you know, it's just really really interesting. But basically, yeah, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, they kind of exposed the plan that Xanatos has, and then Xanatos does. The book kind of ends with Xanatos does escape, but basically
he'll be back.
He's an enemy.
Yep.
Effectively, he's like the deception was unveiled. And then this is the one where I like officially now Obi-Wan is a Padawan.
Yeah, I think at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why don't you talk about like Obi-Wan's character themes in this one? Unless I'm missing anything. You're crushing it with the names.
Well, I really like C. Tremba. And is this the one where they take their special food? Was that the next one, or was that the first one?
I feel like it's the next one.
Okay. Yeah, I like C. Tremba though, and how it's really cool. This relates to Obi-Wan, kind of, but how they're the species. Can you say the name? Arconan.
No, Arconan. Yeah.
Arconan. Their species is always like we. It's never like I. So it's this like we type of thing, and they never really separate. But just this bond that he forms with Obi-Wan. So it kind of, you see this like development even in C. Tremba, and this strong friendship build. So that's really cool with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Obi-Wan, we see that he's newly chosen, but still kind of unsure with his place. Obviously, he's been rejected. So even though he's chosen now, that's always going to be in the back of your mind and probably like cause some level of doubt. And he also feels like overshadowed by Xanatos' confidence and status. But he learns a lot throughout the story, throughout the book. He learns loyalty and to trust in Qui-Gon's, like he realizes that he can't trust Qui-Gon, and that Qui-Gon has some experience and he knows kind of what he's doing. And he begins internalizing Jedi discipline rather than just seeking approval. While he's still, even like we just finished book 4, I feel like even in Phantom Menace, I feel like he's still somewhat kind of seeking approval. But it lessens and lessens, I've noticed even in the book. Like he becomes more confident in kind of who he is. But his growth is very internal here, and he doesn't defeat Xanatos. Obviously he's the main enemy, but he resists becoming like him, which is huge. And so it's kind of where the first book started. This book picks up in his character development and just takes him further and further in those same themes.
Yeah, and with Qui-Gon, clearly, yeah, and what is cool is it's very thematic, and going from Dave Wolverton, I could look, I just don't want to lean and get all awkward, but going from Dave Wolverton to Jude Watson, it's like, oh man, character or an author change.
I didn't even know. You told me later. I was like, oh, I didn't even pay attention. I didn't even.
Fantastic work. But Jude Watson is amazing. The more you read her writing, you're like, this is great. But it's very thematic, and the themes carry through really strongly. And so Qui-Gon, he is confronted with like basically the failure of a former student of his, and essentially what's interesting at the same time, though, that guilt could have been crushing to him, but he refuses to let it like compromise him
and shape him.
Yeah. And so that's like, you really see the strength of Qui-Gon to where he's not playing into like those internal feelings of guilt and whatever.
Right.
And then you do see his trust in the living force, and even with like calling Obi-Wan Padawan. And I think it's funny because there's not this like huge like formal thing, and then even Obi-Wan's like, yo, you keep calling me that,
Right.
And just the way that plays out is cool. But then the juxtaposition of Qui-Gon and Xanatos, where it's like Xanatos needs control and Qui-Gon has a bunch of restraint. And so I think it is playing into that light versus dark.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at Obi-Wan at 12 and I wish I remembered his name, Bruck or whatever.
Yeah.
The guy from in the first book, kind of that school rival, between the two. Then like the name, the dark rival, then you go into Obi-Wan and Xanatos and you're like, oh, well, this is like that times 1,000. This is like a huge, this is like an intense, serious thing. So then I think Obi-Wan is also kind of seeing like something different, like a very, very intense reality to the world. And that's important.
Do we know Xanatos' age? Has that been revealed at all? Obviously, he's probably younger than Qui-Gon and older than Obi-Wan, but...
No. Nothing has been explicit yet to us. But, yes, and essentially Xanatos, he's interesting. He's kind of an enigma, but he's also... He is sharp. He's charismatic. He's very prideful. He resents the Jedi, very entitled to have like power, control.
He's like cunning too.
Yeah. And it is just crazy. But we also don't see that Xanatos is like a Sith.
Right.
So that's interesting too, because it's not like, oh, here's a secret Sith Lord, right? Like he's essentially just like, hey, this Jedi who is kind of left unchecked.
Well, because he would have, if he was Sith, he would have been working with Palpatine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of a dark fallen Jedi, he's kind of doing his own thing. So yeah, and in this book, I think a lot you get pride versus humility. You're getting to see this idea of mentorship as well with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. You're starting to see that begin the seeds of that here. But one thing I think it's interesting is like when you're thinking of like what can this teach, right? Like I think that's a big thing with Star Wars. It is very entertaining, but then I think of like, okay, George Lucas wanted this modern mythos. Like, what are some things that you can extract?
Right.
And I think you see it with Xanatos. It's like the darkness in him, I would say, started with that resentment. As it wasn't full blown hatred. Like it started with something smaller,
it became something bigger. Yeah,
it grew into something more serious. I think this makes Qui-Gon a far more fascinating character, especially by the time you hit the Phantom Menace and his interest in Anakin because of his past failure,
right?
And because
he's
it's
been fighting for him to be a Padawan,
And so then, I mean,
so obviously that relationship between Obi-Wan and him healed something, I think.
Yeah,
is what we see.
Yep, and there actually is a more backstory to Xanatos in a comic that I want to go through, and so yeah, that's something too.
Probably should then.
Yeah, but that is I mean there's some important plot points. We're also trying to like not have everything spoiled in the book, but because essentially too what we kind of feel like with these book discussions and things is that there are some people who've already read it who are interested maybe in the journey of people going through the EU, but then I think there's also a lot of people our age, like kind of the prequel kids, right? Like and maybe even a little younger, where it's like we kind of grew up pre-Disney for sure, and we're kind of like very dissatisfied, or
we grew up with old what is it called?
OT, like the original trilogy.
Yes, I cannot think of the word.
Yeah, because we always want to say Old Testament because
that's not even. I couldn't even think of that word. I was like, what? Then I always mess it up and say they were both blinking in my mind.
But nonetheless, I think there's a lot of people who are interested in the EU, but maybe don't know where to start or feel overwhelmed. And you're like, oh, I want to know more about Qui-Gon, and then you see it's 20 books, right? And then you're like, how am I supposed to do that?
And are some of them hard to come by?
Yeah, they are. If you want to complete it physically, it does get expensive. That's how a lot of the like long series, especially the Scholastic ones I found, it's like there's always like a few that are more expensive. A lot of them are easier to come by, but there's specific ones that are harder. But so with that, we don't want to spoil everything at the same time. We want to hopefully highlight some themes and arcs and give you interest for reading it if you haven't already. So then we have the hidden past, and this is this is an interesting one. You have Obi-Wan essentially, so this would be, I guess, technically kind of if we're continuing from Dark Rival.
Yeah, all of them just connect together.
Yeah. And so then when you're like, hey, when is the first mission going to be accomplished? Kind of, when you're thinking about like, Qui-Gon still hasn't done that. He's like still en route to do this thing.
Right.
What's cool is it feels so real. And I'm not trying to keep beating the same note, but with the West End Games tabletop RPG stuff, like that we're doing and playing through it with a group, it feels so natural to where it's like, hey, these things happen and there's consequences and there's encounters and you're trying to figure out how to navigate all of it. It's pretty interesting. But this would maybe be the first actual kind of set of adventure mission when they're like Padawan master, that relationship. Like it's very early in the apprenticeship under Qui-Gon here. So they're in Bandamere, and then they're in Gala, if you call it that, and Findar. And so we have Bandemir from the kind of previous conflict, and then we have Gala is basically politically unstable, and Findar is this.
Findar is where we spend most of the time.
Yeah.
And Gala is the next book.
Yeah, and Findar.
And Bandemir was the last.
Yes,
So, yeah.
but you kind of like planet hop.
Yep.
Findar is interesting because it's ruled by criminal
syndicate.
And you have some interesting like Guerrera. You have Guerrera and Prince Beju and all this. But basically, this is where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Paxi.
Yeah. They're traveling and they come across Paxi and Guerrera. And
well, they don't know that Paxi is Paxi because he doesn't tell them their name.
Yeah.
He says he's just pilot. And then he fake crash lands on Findar, and they meet up with Guerrera and reveal that they're brothers and that they need their help to take down the syndicate.
Yeah, and then that's kind of, you're like, what the heck,
And from the last book, I was like, I don't know how I feel about Guerrera. Like, he had some good moments, but he had some not so good moments too.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see a lot of his character development and story, and you start to understand a little bit more about his behavior.
And he talks funny too.
Yeah,
he's like,
it's hard to read.
He's a character, that's for sure. He like reads funny and talks funny, and you're like, oh, this guy's kind of interesting.
I love how they call him Jedi Quan.
Jedi Quan, and he says Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. But basically here, it's crazy. Like, I know it's not real, right? But when I was reading, I remember this book was, I don't know why, just the injustice to the Findians or whatever, I was like, this is so messed up.
Yeah.
Because effectively, like, I don't want to say it's like a side quest, but this isn't like the main mission. Like, if you're following Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, like, they get kind of thrust into this, and then you're like, oh, this world is being totally taken advantage of.
But then it's connected to Gala, which is the main mission, right?
Yeah, and then you start to see this interconnectedness that's interesting. But the crime syndicate, and they're called.
There's the syndicate.
The syndicate.
That's how.
Yeah, or syndicate. I don't know, whatever. But basically, they are hoarding vital supplies to force obedience.
Yep.
And so they're definitely like, whatever you guys. And this was the one. I remember it was the line that upset me, and I was like, very late, and we were talking. This is the one that has the line where they're like, "Oh, well, what if they rise up? Why don't you take their guns and their weapons and stuff?" Mm-hmm. This was the one where it's like, it doesn't matter. They're so weak.
Right.
They couldn't even pick it up. Right.
Right.
And I wasn't like an American, like, they're trying to take my guns. It wasn't like that, but I was like, that is so terrible that it's like
that they would put them in a situation where they're that weak. Yeah.
And
then, but they don't know. They think
there's like a
shortage, but really they're hoarding.
Yeah.
And they have all the supplies and food and everything in a warehouse.
Yeah. And just so much corruption and control.
And then they do this terrible renewal thing where they like wipe people's memories who disobey and send them to just drop them off.
Just ship them out to a random planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so...
And then, but you can like see it in their faces, it sounds like. Like they just have like these blank...
Yeah, they wipe their minds and go drop them off. And so Obi-Wan gets captured, and basically they go through this like they're trying to wipe his mind, and a whole bunch of stuff happens, and basically Obi-Wan uses the Force to like resist that and to have.
He's like inspired by his gift from Qui-Gon.
Which I'm like, was that a birthday gift?
I think it was his birthday gift. This rock, and I think he got it in the second book.
Yeah, he did.
We forgot to mention that, but he was like, okay, I'm not really sure what this is, and I think he didn't really want to ask. He's like, I must just.
He's like, he gave me a rock.
But then when he's cold, in this like cell waiting to be renewed, he feels its warmth, and then it helps him like lock into the Force, and then not get his not get renewed.
Yeah, and because you do have where is it the I can't remember if it's the first or second book, but where he has the explosive collar on his neck, and
that's in the second.
Yeah, and he's trying to kind of use the Force to get it off and heal himself and all this, but he can't because of his injuries and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so here it's cool to see already that he's able to like use the Force in a greater capacity.
Right.
That's pretty cool. So basically he kind of plays everybody for the fool or whatever. Like he makes them think that he's renewed.
Mm-hmm. And then pretends to be the Prince of Gala. Mm-hmm. Pretends to be Prince Beju. And get the Bacta. Yeah,
because that's the whole thing, is that they're wanting Bacta. There's a whole Bacta scheme going on. And so yeah, he exposes the Syndicate's control methods, and their power starts to collapse and everything. Mm-hmm. And it ends. I won't go how it ends. It's a satisfying ending, mm-hmm. for sure. But Obi-Wan, his character themes.
Yeah, Obi-Wan, again, he just continues on this trajectory of like, I feel like, so, I mean, we finished 4 books. Or we're on the 5th one right now, right?
Yeah.
So he's just like this trajectory of growth. But specifically in this one, he faces the loss of identity rather than physical death. Mm-hmm. He endures psychological violation without surrender. He anchors himself through memory, compassion, and the Force, and demonstrates growth beyond training into moral resilience. So we see this young boy, and we see him put in terrible situations time and time again.
He just turned 13.
And in each book, you see this strength and this resilience become stronger in him. And I think if this situation was to happen in the first book, I don't know that he would have been able to withstand the renewal. Like, mm-hmm. he had growth and process. And even though it's a short period of time, what he's been through already with Qui-Gon has really, like, propelled his growth. And I think learning to be more humble and trust his master have been, like, 2 huge things for him. And they're excelling his growth. And I think that's why he's able in that moment to withstand this terrible process. And then not only does he withstand it, he plays everyone off. Like, he mm-hmm. tricks everyone. So everyone thinks he's been, even when Qui-Gon first sees him, he's not really sure. But then I think they communicate through the Force. And he's like, Obi-Wan's got a plan. Like, let's wait and see what he's doing. And we'll back him up. But yeah, so then even seeing that trust between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan grow, and kind of that friendship and that reliance on each other.
Yeah, and when I was thinking about Obi-Wan's character growth, it's a bit shell shock. It's a bit maybe PTSD, where it's like he has to mature. He has to grow up really quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I think Xanatos is the picture in these first books, right? He's the picture of like, well, what happens when you're removed from kind of the guidance and care of somebody walking you through this, right? Because it's like, right. It's not full-blown war, but you're going into conflicts, you're going into political things.
Yeah, conflict after conflict.
It's pretty crazy, because you're not in like the galactic Clone Wars yet, but
this was definitely prepping him.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see that, and it's like, man, how was that hero? Because you see the hero in A New Hope and mm-hmm. beyond,
right?
But then it's like, okay, the prequels, I think personally, do a great job of getting you there. I'm like, mm-hmm. okay, you see this. This takes it just even further back in his journey, right. And I'm like, wow, you're really seeing how pivotal of a role Qui-Gon played mm-hmm. to him, not just like crashing and burning, and
right.
It's because he goes through crazy things really quickly.
Yeah.
For Qui-Gon, he is trusting Obi-Wan, which, having just gone from like rejecting him, essentially, to now like trusting him.
Right.
That speaks a lot about Qui-Gon, even because it's extreme conditions. And he doesn't necessarily want to like force intervention in all of this. Instead, he really embodies like Jedi patience and confidence in the living Force.
And you see how much he like is starting to really care for Obi-Wan.
Yeah, because he's allowing Obi-Wan to go through hardship, but he's having a hard time. But he's like, he's trying not to like just pluck him out of it, and trust at the same time. But he cares deeply for him. It's really interesting. I think when we think about the Syndicate,
terrible.
Yeah, psychological warfare, like the way that they're doing the refresh or whatever, the renewal. When they're doing that, weaponizing scarcity, and I just think there's a bit of realism where it's like, whoa, like this is, as it's not like, oh, this over domineering force ability or extreme violence where it's like maybe it seems like a little unrealistic, you know. This is where it's like, wow, this feels real and gritty, and this feels like something that could actually happen,
right? And
in a kid's, effectively in a children's book,
right? Scholastic.
I'm like, wow. Even the stuff that's literally for children is always like, is this really for children?
Right.
This is kind of crazy. One thing that was interesting in this, it talks about, because this is the one where it talks about Owen. And it's like, remember with Obi-Wan and Owen where it was like hinting that like Owen is his brother?
No.
No?
No. I must have not been paying attention when I was reading that part.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, because I remember that. And where...
Like Uncle Owen?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But then that's clearly removed, so that's like a thing that's just not a part of it anymore. Like, all right. But just a cool, I guess, early thing where they're trying to interconnect things. But then inevitably, you know, the film scripts change things. Right. For sure. But this was cool because it's not just lightsabers, lightsaber combat. You know, there's a lot of psychological things going on here. And I mean, when you think about a kid's book going into mind control, authoritarianism, you know, it's like that's not always like talked about in the later, broader Star Wars universe. So it's interesting to see play out here, for sure. All right, now on to the Mark of the Crown. This will be the last one that we're talking about today on the stream, but the Mark of the Crown. So here, basically, it's continuing with kind of the whole plot and premise of the hidden past, and it's just pulling that theme through. And like you had said, we're on Gala, and this one's it's a lot of politics. Yes, this one. So if you're into prequel politics, this is a good one. I will say the cover is deceiving.
I don't really understand.
When we got to the end of the book, I was like, "Why is that the cover?" It's a cool cover. I didn't know what I couldn't articulate exactly what I was expecting, but anyway, that's maybe my one gripe where I was like, what's with the cover? But so essentially here you have this Queen Vita. She's like the monarch, right? She's like the queen of Gala. Prince Beju is the heir of Gala, and then you have but Prince Beju, so essentially what's happening is Queen Vita is going to introduce, I almost said demonic elections.
Yikes.
Going to introduce democratic
Oh gosh.
elections on Gala, and Prince Beju is totally resenting that. And so Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, I don't know exactly why. It did confuse me a little bit, but Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were kind of sent to like monitor and protect the process.
Yeah, to make sure it was like peaceful.
And I guess that just plays into why are the Jedi doing this?
Great.
That's kind of that prequel era critique of the Jedi. Like they are overextended as the peace police of the Republic. I do think
the Queen did invite them, so they weren't necessarily sent. I believe they were requested.
Yeah, but I guess still, it's like why? I don't know.
So I guess what I'm saying is they didn't force themselves.
True, that is true. The Jedi, it's just interesting how the Jedi are always involved in these things where it's like, do they need to necessarily be involved? I'm not sure. But essentially what happens here, there's all these factions that are competing, this political tension, and Qui-Gon learns of this lost heir, Elon.
That's
You've been crushing the names. I mean, they're all made up anyways.
I don't know that I'm saying them right, but
Elon.
That's how I say it.
She's living among the hill people, so she's like
the leader of the hill people.
Yeah. I don't know what the hill people are.
They're people who live in the hills. They're like removed from this. They don't want to live in the city.
I never mentioned this to you, probably because you never watched it. But there's a movie like The Hills Have Eyes.
Heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Like, there's multiple versions, but like old horror. But so when I hear the hill people, that's where I'm going. I'm like, that's like kind of terrifying, but I'm like, I know that that's not the case, you know.
Right.
With some of this, I'm like, I wish this was illustrated, you know.
I know.
But essentially, what's going on here is that Qui-Gon is going to find Elon, and he wants to kind of prevent civil unrest and stuff. And Obi-Wan, he's behind, so you kind of have this like divide and conquer thing going on. Obi-Wan goes to uncover a plot where somebody's trying to poison Queen Vita and take her out. And so he intervenes. He prevents the assassination, and we'll leave the
mystery.
We'll leave the twist. It's pretty sick. At the end, you were like, what? Did you see that coming?
Someone in the book did.
Yeah, but this conspiracy is exposed, and the transition of power is all good, right? But why don't you talk to us about...
but also I think it's important that Offworld is mentioned again.
Yes.
And Xanatos his name has come up again, and the Offworld is involved in, giving money to, what's the word for that? To one of the...
He's like backing?
He's backing Deca Braun. Offworld is, so... That's it's not necessarily important to the specific book, but I assume it's going to be important overall to the story at large. And we got him back.
And so here's what we have. We have this whole thing. So it's like we have Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon doesn't want to do this because of Xanatos. And they're going, and then all of a sudden it's like Xanatos comes into the picture.
Right.
And you're like, oh, shoot, like what's going on? And this conflict happens. Xanatos bounces out. These guys just keep going. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan keep going, and then they end up in another place where it's like, hey,
this guy's involved
where
here
he's
too.
not on the planet, but now he's like, you're just starting to see this like inevitable conflict,
this weaving
that keeps coming, and it's like I think it's really good on a storytelling front because you could get lost in the details of we're not like we're on another. These are fantastic books. You could just be like journey to journey, adventure to adventure.
Right.
But they keep bringing in that thread, which is really cool.
Yes. So they're definitely telling a one overarching story, and then we have all these like almost mini stories with the books. But yeah, Obi-Wan, we see that he's trusted more. He has a little bit more independence. Like Qui-Gon leaves him to take care of not only just like take care of what's going on at the palace, but then also like cover for him. We see him exercise his discernment when he's like, I think he figures out on his own. He thinks the queen is being poisoned, so he starts having this investigative which is very reminiscent of Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is a detective. And
It is.
Here's where it's born.
It's the natural, like, analytical bent of his mind, investigative.
He's very investigative.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I'm like, yeah, I'll stand on the fact that Attack of the Clones is one of the greatest detective films of all time.
He learns vigilance within political, not military conflict, and he demonstrates loyalty through quiet protection rather than recognition. So he's what I really like about Obi-Wan in this one, and he's more slow to move. He's not as impulsive.
Yeah.
He's like, I need to make sure I have the answers. He can't really, Qui-Gon's not there. At some points he can't get in contact with him, so he's slows down a little bit and makes sure he knows what he's doing before he makes moves. And you see this huge growth with him not being as impulsive and being much more mature in that area. So that's a really cool character growth for him. And then we see him develop another friend, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. And this is actually, it's crazy because it's like, you're like, it's Obi-Wan, right? But this is the first time without, like, direct oversight as a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, yo, Qui-Gon, this is kind of crazy. You're leaving a 13-year-old to figure this out. But
Bro, yeah.
But what you see, we're talking about the themes and kind of the arc of these characters. Qui-Gon, he prioritizes, like, justice over protocol, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see he does value autonomy.
Yeah.
That's a theme that you see through this. So he's not trying to, like, force Obi-Wan to do what he wants. And it's also interesting with, like, Qui-Gon and this whole thing, and Prince Beju and Elan, where it's like that he's more so looking at, like, with the whole there's a whole thing at the end with the Mark of the Crown and all of that. But to basically, like, who's legitimately next in line?
Right.
Who legitimate, the whole thing, if you guys haven't watch Matt Wilkins. He talks about these probably far greater than we could.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just watching his reread about this and how he's like, they should be called Legacy or Legacies, and it's like
This one?
Yeah.
Or all of them?
This one.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's a lot about legacy.
Yeah, because everybody's thinking about their legacy. And so you definitely see that Qui-Gon, he's very interested in how does that actually play out.
So is the Queens. Even Obi-Wan at 13 is thinking about it. But then neither one of them want to talk to each other.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny, like internal dialogue.
And he definitely is open to engaging, like, even the marginalized groups. And he's trying to be a mediator, which I think, like, yeah, if you're going to be here as a Jedi, you should be a mediator instead of coming to enforce.
Yes.
Because he's kind of stepping in not knowing the full history of everything. So he's just coming to mediate, try and see peace through the process. Prince Beju, essentially, if you're kind of looking at him, because what you find, there's a lot of characters that pop up for a book or two and then kind of dip out, and you can learn from these characters. He feels very entitled to rule by his birthright.
Yes.
Basically, he thinks that any kind of reform is a personal loss to him. He really fears any diminished power, and he's really sharply contrasted with Jedi ideals. Like,
his identity is in his title.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to become irrelevant, basically. So this is, I think this book is very interesting. It wasn't my favorite so far out of 1 through 4, right? It wasn't probably my least favorite of the first 4, but it's great. It's not saying that it's bad.
Right.
But I think this is where it's showing, hey, Jedi aren't just like cool laser swords and combat.
Right.
Where it's like, hey, there's actually like a civic element to this, which is cool. And Obi-Wan is developing as opposed to just kind of being somebody who's there.
Right.
It's cool if you like if you like episodic arcs, whether it's in book form or if you like the Clone Wars, this definitely plays into that in a really cool way. So if you like that, And then we also have the EU deepening like governance and power and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool. So for books 1 to 4, kind of what do you think so far?
I think they're amazing. I look forward to reading them every night with my sons. I mean, the almost 2-year-old, he's there, but he's not really there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy it.
Man, if he is cute because he always he wants these books read to him, right? And then he's out.
The 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes.
The 5-year-old, he's out like a light right off the bat, and then
usually not even one chapter in, and these are short chapters.
Yeah. But yeah, they're fantastic. I think you should definitely pick these up.
Yes.
And read them. Find ebooks if you can. There are audiobooks people have made on YouTube. But if you can, get them physically. I mean, they're pretty great.
Hold them.
Yep. Yes, sir. So we're gonna talk to the chat for a second, and then we're gonna transition kind of to this next piece. So let's see if my thing's still working. Here we go. Yes, it says, "Hello there, Mr. and Mrs. Star Wars nerds. My apologies for my tardiness. How are you both doing?" First off, chat man, hello. And no worries about being late, man. We are doing well. A very full life, very busy life at the same time.
Yes.
We, 3 younglings now. I think it might have been Sandman who calls him his little Jawas. But yeah, no, life is full. It's busy, but just feels very blessed to have 3 kids. And they're very into Star Wars, like a really, really cool thing.
Yes.
Like I've said too many times, and I'm nerding out about it. But basically, Star Wars has multiple versions of like a tabletop RPG, like a Dungeons and Dragons, essentially for Star Wars. Anyway. So we're playing the West End Games one, and our son wants to play. He loves what he calls story games, like kind of 1 to 2 sentences at a time, back and forth story games. We're like, this will help.
He would love this.
This will help with structure, and he loves it. So that's like
we have to tell him about his character.
Okay, so like
you get to make your own character, and this was his creation.
So he is so we're basically in 3 ABY.
Yeah,
I think that's what I chose. So basically, we're right after A New Hope, and he is a B1 battle droid named Roger, who basically
has been reprogrammed
and repurposed after the Battle of Theed, and he's kind of been like wandering the planet, and he got picked up by a Force-sensitive character, Nevaeh Solaris.
Yep, that's me.
Which is his mother. And basically he wants to be a Jedi. His name is Roger. I don't know if we said that. He wants to be a Jedi, and he wants to use the Force, but the tragedy of Roger is that he can't use the Force.
Because he's a droid. But he can use a lightsaber.
But maybe he'll do it. That'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
A B1 battle droid. So anyway, that's his character.
Yeah,
so all that said,
he loves it. So much fun.
That has been a lot of fun. And then Padawannabe talking about the books. Yes, for children seems silly. The written word was made to teach. Sheltering children is newer in society. They were part of the family and learned with everyone else, good or bad as experience. That is so true. Yeah, because it's, man, I think, the best thing to do is safely expose your children to the reality of the world, like in the home, and teach them, because it's like, if you show them like, hey, we'll expose you to this, the world will expose them to this. So it's like, hey, we are going to be your guide. We're going to show you truth and morality, guide you through that. Man, if you can do that through Star Wars too,
for real, man,
let's go. And Padawannabe, hello all.
Hello.
That's close enough though, honestly. Okay. Yeah, we never really see the Jedi in their true state. So true. Sandman, LOL, the hell people. Yeah, dude, for real. My brother, Mr. Alex. Hello. Hello.
What up?
And yes, the Jedi Apprentice series, absolutely goated.
So good.
Let's go. Yes, sir. Oh, I meant this one. Missed the beginning, but still awesome to see you guys talking about some epic prequel EU content. Yes, sir. Yes. We've been trying different formats over the years.
Mm-hmm.
We've tried it in talking about an entire book at once. We've tried chapter by chapter.
We have not figured it out. But.
Yeah, and then syncing up our reading schedules was difficult, and so basically we found reading as, at least these for now, reading as bedtime stories gives us a reading pace where we're both reading the same thing at the same time to then be able to freshly talk about it.
And it's with our children. So,
yes,
yeah.
they fall asleep very quickly, but
that's okay.
Yes. You're saying I did 2 gaming sessions with some people online, and I chose a stealthy hacker Ewok. That is sick,
awesome.
Man. That is so sick. That's awesome. I would hide in the shadows and crawl in the vents. Let's go. My entire team got captured, and I got to rescue them. Dude, that's awesome. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, West End Games RPG stuff is so underrated.
Yeah.
I think everybody should.
It's so fun.
Find it's I will say I had to take on the role of game master. I don't want to say had to. I wanted to, and kind of got nominated by the group to do it. That's a little stressful because there's a lot going on. But if you love storytelling, that's a great role for you. But if you can find a group who is into that, and I mean, I don't know, I'm biased. If you can do West End Games, sure. But then there's Wizards of the Coast, and then there's Fantasy Flight Games, like whatever. Just there's so much stuff out there.
Yeah.
Become a super nerd and get into that, man. It's a lot of fun. Star Wars Episode 0, and it takes place before Phantom Menace. Yeah, so true. So true. That is a great way to explain these. Then, yeah, I too miss the opening stream. However, what matters is I'm present in the chat right now. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's go, man. I appreciate you. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to show off some A New Hope film restoration stuff. The missus for a moment is going to step out. Because the baby's crying downstairs and stuff.
I hear my princess.
So she's going to go check and make sure things are good. But I'm going to show you guys some film restoration stuff. So let's go into that. So let me show you guys. Let's see if we can navigate this. So yeah, you're good. I'll keep rocking and rolling here. Okay, so let's see if I can. This is still all a work in progress here. The studio, if you shall call it that, because effectively, what we used to do is sit right in front of our, right in front of our computer, and look at all this stuff. But now instead, we're looking at it kind of from far away. We're maybe 5 feet away. So I need to set up a TV so we can see this stuff bigger. Actually, I think what I can do, if you guys, no, I won't worry about it. This is sufficient. Okay, so when we are looking at film restoration stuff, when you're thinking, if you guys have ever watched Harmy's Despecialized, effectively what he does is he takes the best of some things from the 35 millimeter film reels and from the Blu-ray and these different things, and he's trying to remove in 4K quality and really high quality all of the things added by the special edition, and he rotoscopes them painstakingly. It's very, very crazy. And then there's a group, Team -1, where they have 4K 77, 4K 80. They have true film restoration stuff. And basically Star Wars has said, Disney Lucasfilm, even George, honestly, this was said kind of before, that essentially the original the original film reels, they're that they just don't exist anymore, right? That the idea of seeing what you saw in theaters on 1977 in high definition restored glory just isn't possible. And then the British Film Institute this year posted a video where they were like restoring these, like the Star Wars film reels. And I was like, I thought these didn't exist, but whatever. So then Disney makes this announcement that in 2027, for the 50th anniversary of A New Hope, they are going to show Star Wars in its theatrical glory. And this comes after some leaks, some video footage leaks. And so that's what I have here. So I wanted to look at this because I've been tracking with, if you've been around for a while, our channel is almost 5 years old, which doesn't even sound right. We appreciate all of you. The fact that anybody even shows up is sometimes mind-blowing to me. But yeah, in the past 5 years, I got to talk to Harmy from the Despecialized project. Have an interview with him. That was just really cool to get to know him, hear about his work. Got to like hang out in the forums with Team Negative One and like talk with them in comments and watch and review for the Project 4K stuff. That's easy to get, but still, like I'm really interested in all of this. But I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys this. But Chatman, I see you say, are you Kat speaking of the tabletop RPG Edge of the Empire? I am not in particular. I haven't played it, so I can't speak to if it's good or not. But we're using like the West End game stuff from the 90s, and in particular, we're actually making our own kind of campaign. But yeah, the RPG Edge of the Empire would definitely be right up that same alley. So when we're looking at this clip, these leaked clips came out. And I don't think there's any audio here, but we'll skip around, and I'll have to pause to make sure we're not. So obviously you have like the original, kind of like Lucasfilm Limited. If I'm gonna keep skipping, so again, this is just kind of like Robert. Like okay, so like, and this is again, think of this. However you're watching it, TV, phone, whatever, right? This is uploaded to YouTube. Compressed by YouTube, but just like the colors and definition, like they just look absolutely insane. And there's like when we're looking at this, like this is straight from film, because I mean this is a film restoration project, and so people believe that this is the actual like this is actually from potentially the negatives. Like this is a true restoration taking place. And as much as it pains me to say, this is probably one of the things Disney is doing right now. I'll give them that. If they release this, I may actually like go and watch this in theaters, because that's a pretty rare thing to be able to do. But yeah, just you get rid of like, even if I can see if I can quickly stop, because some of this just cuts through so fast, right? Like this, like you're getting rid of all that blue tint that you get with some of like the Blu-ray stuff. But man, it just looks so good, and it's gonna be so high quality. What's really fascinating with this, you have the entire original trilogy that was leaked. Not the entire trilogy, but clips from the entire trilogy leaked, and it just looks fantastic. Just the attention to detail in this. Yeah. The shot of the guy at 251 is so crisp. It looks like it was shot in the 2000s. Oh, dude, at 251, let's see if we can go to 251. If I can go from far away. Or Oh, I see what you're saying. Or were you saying like the earlier one? Maybe not the minute marker 251. Like what we were just looking at. I think that's what you meant. I misunderstood. Yeah. Because we're looking at this bottom number. Yeah, dude, seriously. It does. It's insane how good it looks. And this is on YouTube. Like, absolutely mind-blowing. Even like things like when it's showing up close, like, yeah, the Death Star guy. Yeah. Dude, for real. Like, this right here is right before this. This guy. I think this is what you're talking about. Yeah, that this guy, like, just so crystal clear. Man, I don't know. This is stuff I just geek out about because it just looks so good. But yeah, even just these shots, like the reflections off of C-3PO. And they removed the audio from this. And so if you're really interested in this whole thing, you can go to Harmy's channel and 2 minutes 51 seconds. Oh well, dude, we're on different wavelengths. But yeah, all of it's crazy. Okay, so let me actually go to 2 minutes 51 seconds. I just didn't wait long enough. But yeah, all of it's crazy. You are so patient, my man. You're so patient, Aaron. As I'm here fumbling, misunderstanding. Yeah, seriously. Like just the clarity and like even like looking at the sharpness of Tarkin here. Dude, this is and again, when I'm thinking about watching this on the big screen, I'm thinking about being able to experience what it looked like. Actually, potentially better than what it looked like. I think the allure of Project 4K is, 4K 80 looks really good. 4K 77 definitely has bits where you're like, okay, this is like, some of these film reels were played a lot, right? But to me, there's like a charm in that, and just a sense of like archiving a piece of history, and I don't know, there's just something unique about that. But with this, what's really fascinating is you're gonna get the best possible quality. Yeah, dude, shout out to all the colorists and cleanup. For real. Like, it's just so stunning. Just the way it looks. And, just the consistency. Like, a big complaint I know of, like, the Blu-ray and stuff is when you're going from environment to environment, that's kind of why they add these, like, blue... it's not blue, but they're trying to color change and color correct so it feels cohesive. But here, everything's just like so crystal clear, and it looks so good. And so even just like, man, you're just getting these little snippets of it, right? But it's like just fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, the visual appearance is as sharp as a tack. Yeah. And then, going into, like, low light with the Cantina, and, dude, like, that is phenomenal. Like, just I don't know. And I won't stay too much longer on this, but I just wanted to showcase it in case people hadn't seen it, or at least just geek out about it, because I find this work so profoundly good. And like this attention to, not attention to detail, this detail here and the sharpness is just fantastic. And like, but here's the thing: when you film on actual film, you're going to get better than any kind of digital upgrade that's going to be out there. So the film quality, like the resolution quality, it's already high, and especially if you have originals, like if you're not going from what was passed down to the theaters, when you're actually going off of what was originally filmed, this is really interesting. And there's all these notes here too. So if you really want to geek out on this, like you can read all these notes, like if you know about like Rec 709 and like color correction, if you're interested in like, okay, how are things mixed and things like that, and what did they do, like you can get all of those details here. But I will say this is legitimate enough and good enough to where Harmy has said that he's actually pausing his despecialized projects for now, because essentially he's like, if they can do this, they're going to do it far better than what I can do. And effectively he's saying like, and that's going to be way better. Way better than what he could do. So, man. Let's do this at 8:32. Remember the color of Vader's original lightsaber. Let's pop over. Yeah. Look at that. That's so, and like, that's just so crazy. Like when we're looking at this, not that it changes things necessarily. Like you're gonna have elements that change backdrops and change the story. Like with Java, like okay, so there's certain things like these things are gonna be a tell, right? Did Han alone shoot? That's important, because unless they do some tomfoolery and, dodges his head, or Greedo shoots, because Greedo never shot. Han shot. Like in the theatrical, I'm not trying to be a film snob about it. Han shot, Greedo hit the floor. That's how it goes. So if that is still there, then we know, okay, that is accurate to the film restoration. Is Jabba in it? Because if I know that it was originally filmed, sure, we'll give it that. And, you have the stand-in. I personally like not having Jabba. So there's going to be different little things that will tell, are they truly doing the theatrical? Everything points to it. I remember that from when I saw it on VHS in like 1993. Dude, that's awesome. All right, let's look at just a little bit more of this, and then get in some hot takes. And just like, you're just looking at some of the attention to detail here, and like, and even that's super cool with just the way things look and the coloring, and like the X-Wings. Fantastic, man. Look at that. Just that, the beauty of Star Wars in 77. I, for one, am super excited about all of this, because you're going to see so much of the beauty of all of the set building and all the miniatures and props and things like that. And then, yes, Monsieur Aaron, there's a bit of Empire and Jedi toward the end. There is. And that is, like, right here, we're seeing that gets really interesting because it's like, are they going to do a full release of the original trilogy as it was seen in theaters? I hope so. As much as I think that Disney has made some really bad decisions, like Disney Lucasfilm, I think this can be not just a fantastic idea to monetize and all this. I could be all negative about, oh well, they're trying to milk this or whatever. I think this needs to be archived. I am preserved. Like, I believe in these film restoration projects so much that this makes me happy. I really hope that they are taking this seriously. The one thing I would like to see, which would be really nice, is release the 3D versions of the prequels. I believe Attack of the Clones was also complete. I saw The Phantom Menace in 3D. And I wish I mean, it's not like the most spectacular thing, but I wish I could see it again, you know? Oh, a man can dream. Man can dream. Okay, so on Reddit, I know what Reddit is, right? Reddit has quite a reputation. It's not the same as what it used to be, for sure. But I figured, I had this idea. So we basically made, like, what is your Star Wars hot take? 313 comments here. What is your EU hot take? So many that there's a spoiler tag. And there's 404 comments. And what is your prequels hot take? 165 comments. They're loaded with gold. Just straight up. Yeah, I had to ditch Reddit. Dude, I have been off and on for so long. And it doesn't even represent what it started as. And it's an insane echo chamber. Even like in the Star Wars communities, like this, I know this is the general community, but even in these communities, you gotta kind of watch things, but I feel you there, man. I really do. But with this, made this like, what is your Star Wars hot take? What's a Star Wars take that you believe most fans definitely don't? And so here, I didn't know if I should sort by best or controversial, but let's just do controversial. Because I wanted to go through some of these and, yeah, just have the dialogue and just kind of critique these and see, man, are these hot takes? Are these good? Are these abysmal? Where do these sit? So this first one, Asthma Man, Darth Vader, bro. Look at who's literally on my shirt. This is already not going to be well. Is overrated and needs to completely die off. Star Wars needs to veer off from him. It has gotten stale. Well, it's probably talking about Canon, which I would probably agree. I think that they need to leave him alone, but I don't think that Darth Vader is overrated. How can you be a Star Wars fan and also mock Darth Vader? Yeah, that's for real. Let's see this response. I'm interested. Well, in a galaxy that is full of people, characters, and stories, they still tend to revolve around these two characters. There were 9 movies based on Asthma Man and Heart Palpitation. We got enough about those two to last a lifetime. I don't know if we got enough for a lifetime, but that is a hot take, and I think it's a bad take. Return of the Jedi isn't much better than the prequels, if at all. What a sentence. It's not the OT versus PT, so it's not original trilogy versus prequel trilogy. It's a New Hope and Empire versus everything else. Star Wars began going downhill after Empire Strikes Back. What a terrible take. That is a hot take if I've ever heard one. First, it presupposes that these are bad, which is just wrong. No, it is not original trilogy versus prequel trilogy. I think that's a terrible take. But to say Return of the Jedi is bad? That's ridiculous. let's see what people are saying. I respect this as a hot take, but completely disagree. It wraps up the original trilogy perfectly. Yeah, it definitely does. Confrontation between Luke, Vader, and the Emperor is the very essence of Star Wars, boiled down to 3 characters, a sword fight, some fantastic dialogue. Not only is it better than anything in the prequel trilogy, it's a better movie than A New Hope. I'm not sure about that sentence. Would I place Return higher than Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones? Definitely. Would I place it high? I'd have to think about placing it higher than Revenge of the Sith. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. I'm a Jedi like my father before me. Basically, it's the entire trilogy encapsulated in one cathartic line. Jedi is the most flawed, but it's also epic. Yeah, I think to say Star Wars began going downhill after Empire Strikes Back, that's crazy. No way. I mean, because I'm just thinking, you get all the characters coming back together. I mean, just the whole thing on Jabba's sail barge. Like, that's fantastic. I don't like how Boba goes out. And I know he doesn't go out, but like I don't like that whole thing where he just kind of gets knocked into it, into the Sarlacc pit. But no, I think to see things go so sideways and then go so right, and then the return to Dagobah and just this, I mean, the rebuilding of the Death Star, and to just go do a final blow and to have Luke kind of step into his identity. Even more the redemption of Anakin, the redemption of Vader, right? I think, man, I don't think there's a thing wrong with the movie, but the downside for me are the Ewoks, Death Star 2, and some stiff acting here and there. Okay, I mean, I think I'd be interested in maybe either one, Ewoks or Death Star. Let me know. I personally, I know if I speak for the missus, I know she's with the baby, feeding the baby right now. She loves the Ewoks. I do too. I think I'm really fascinated by them, especially when they're like stringing up Han and Luke and all them to like basically like cook them and I think eat them. I think the Ewoks were thriving off of potentially eating stormtroopers, and personally that might be a stretch, but I think they're definitely interesting. I don't feel like they're an abomination or anything like that. I feel like they fit for the Force Moon of Endor. Death Star 2, the construction is pretty quick, and you know how vulnerable it was, and how quickly it got, you know, kind of taken out again and all this. But I'd be interested to hear objections to Death Star 2. Talking about Reddit, I did likewise, and as it concerns Twitter prior to being morphed into X, considered even Instagram as well. Yet the only anchor I have to such as those I love. No, I get it, man. The missus is off of social media like entirely, and it's been really positive for her. I actually kind of envy that. Okay, the prequel trilogy was even worse than the sequel trilogy. This right here is not an alt account of mine, but yes, I vehemently disagree. Okay, before reading this absolute Chad Road to Revision, the prequel trilogy was even worse than the sequel trilogy. That is so crazy to me. That, like, hey, you know what? If people like the sequels, more power to them. I just think, even as films, honestly, I think they are just objectively bad. I think the prequels are fantastic. I think that they, like, okay, so if we're looking at Phantom Menace, one thing I don't like a lot are the midichlorians, right? So we can get into that. But we're looking at the failed Jedi, in a sense, the compromised Jedi Council, and we're looking at this mythic figure that is coming in to bring balance to the Force. And that would be Anakin Skywalker, not Rey. And I think so many of the things that take place in the prequel trilogy were to serve the original trilogy. Like, they were to deepen it. I don't feel like they were meant to contradict it. And so what I feel like with the sequel trilogy, though, is I just felt like it was to undo everything. The way all of the characters die doesn't make sense for them. Their storylines don't make sense. They're sidelined for Rey. They are also, like, just totally, even their own characters, like, they're just kind of pushed to the side. There's just a lot of failed plot points. Even having, like, J.J. Abrams and then Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams, again, this fighting back and forth, I just don't think it was good. I'll be honest, I liked Force Awakens. I like it less now that everything's out. Hated The Last Jedi. I've only watched it twice and would never watch it again. And the Rise of Skywalker or whatever, I only watched it once in theaters. But let's see what this guy says. I vehemently disagree. While the prequels aren't perfect, they at least have added so much lore to Star Wars. Yes, I was just saying that. There's so many good characters and worlds that have improved the Star Wars universe. Yes. There's absolutely nothing memorable about the sequels due to its disorganized, frankly, contradicting storylines. Let's go. All the characters, while many had lots of potential, fall flat and become uninteresting. Wait, was that downvoted? Why was that downvoted? See, that's what's crazy to me. You know what? I don't really downvote, but man, yeah, I'm with that. And this guy even says, like, it at least told a coherent story with compelling characters despite their flawed execution. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's a crazy sentiment for me. Okay, so let's see. We're talking about Ewoks and the Death Star. I'd rather have the Ewoks be Wookiees and the Death Star be the Executor equipped with a super laser. Interesting. I guess it's my return of the Jedi dream in a way. Ah, that is interesting. I like the Executor with the super laser. That's pretty fascinating. Ewoks as Wookiees. It would definitely be more terrifying. Like, yeah, if they went to Kashyyyk, that would definitely be more terrifying. Chatman, you're amazing. While I respect the cast as well as the crew of the sequel trilogy as people who are created in the image of God, I simply couldn't invest myself in such, and I choose to leave it be. That is such a good statement. That's awesome. Okay, here we go. I'll give you 4. This guy says the EU was never especially good, and we didn't really lose a ton by ditching it. Okay, this is already a very flawed argument in my opinion. It was never especially good. I guess you would have to define, what do you mean by good? Because I would say objectively it is good. I think it adds, even from, I'm not an expert, so I'm not trying to say that, but from everything I've read, it adds depth. Are there things I don't like? Sure. but never especially good. No, there's just so much where I get more excited about Star Wars. Like, ironically, it was after Book of Boba Fett for me. After Book of Boba Fett, I began to really quickly lose interest in new Star Wars to the point of like just not watching it. Watching everything pre-Disney and actually going back to the EU actually gave me a renewed excitement for it. So to just say the Zahn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command, that those and the X-Wing books are the only good ones, that's just crazy. And really, we didn't lose a ton by ditching it. Okay, so I am disconnected from current canon and continuity, but even here, it's like everything I see is it's pulled from some EU storyline. Even the planets and characters, like they are still being pulled through into current canon. So it's like we didn't lose a ton by ditching it. No, I disagree with that totally. Original Sin and sequel trilogy was trying to bring back the OT characters, doomed to fail for multiple reasons. You could have your own head canon. Could have been a lot easier to tell a good story without them than to bring them back and make it work. You'd watch your heroes predicted. You'd watch your heroes die. Blah blah blah. Basically, then it didn't have a full outline. They were just making stuff up as they went. I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think what they did to the original trilogy actors and not having a plan, like not having a unified plan, is definitely the problem. I think, yeah, no, I definitely agree there, sir. I disagree with your first sentiment, but I agree there. Man, these are long takes. Let's see. Oh man, I skipped 3, but the best film of the sequel trilogy is The Last Jedi. Probably the smartest Star Wars film of all. What? That might not make it the most enjoyable to sit back and watch as the most going on under the hood. Makes it most enjoyable to me. Sadly, it's completely discordant with the 2 films that bookend it, which are big popcorn roller coaster ride movies. Okay, and we've already touched this point. It was Ryan Johnson subverting expectations. It was him fighting the plan. But the best film? No, dude, that is like I'll just tell a story about this. So we went and saw the midnight release, the missus and I and family. We went and saw the midnight release. And when we left, we were like, is that really it? That's kind of crazy. Like, I remember there were literally points, especially like Leia and her thing and what Luke was doing, all this, what Jake was doing, right? There were points where I was like literally laughing, like, I can't believe this is actually happening. But afterwards, nonetheless, I thought maybe I'm just sleep deprived. Like, surely that didn't just happen to us. And we actually went back the next day. We got a good night's sleep. Went back the next day. Like, maybe now that we've like kind of, sometimes you go through a story, it doesn't fully make sense, and you rewatch and you're like, I get the beats of what's going on now. So it made less sense the second time around, and I thought it was even worse. But yeah, man, that's absolutely crazy. That's funny. Let's see. I don't know, Alex. I don't know why it's not popping up. It's because it wanted to. It held it in review. I don't know why. There's like nothing moderated. Anyway, I'll read it. Reddit is a hive of scum and villainy. Yes, sir, it is. People were like, "Can we ban these posts? These karma farming posts?" And I'm like, I really don't care about karma, but I care about some hot takes to react to. And I'll pop off of it for a long time. 4 is insane. Yeah, it has nothing good under the hood, and certainly isn't smart. Yes, and even what they did with him is just Snoke was ridiculous. Okay, Rogue One is not that great of a movie, and I'm tired of seeing it glazed over and put in people's top 3, even as best Star Wars film. All the characters are boring and forgettable. I mean, I haven't watched it in a long time, and I'm probably never going to rewatch it, but top 3 is crazy. I do not think it should go top 3. I think the highest it could go is 7. Like after 1 through 6, I think, yeah, that's crazy. I think just from being on the internet, I think this person's from Acolyte, but I don't know, so I'm gonna skip that. I really don't know. No, no, it's not. Rise of Skywalker is a solid film. It's a terrible film. Objectively, let's just not talk about Star Wars, right? If we just don't talk about Star Wars for a second, we just talk about filmmaking. It's just not a good film. Like, it can't tell a good story. There's so many plot points that are left for the end of a supposed saga. It doesn't make sense, and even just the ending just doesn't connect. But then I think when you're in a fandom, I think to make it a good film is even harder, right? When you're looking at a 9th iteration of something, it becomes harder because you have to both pay homage to what's come before it, and you have to be in continuity to it. And this did neither. It was just very odd through and through. I think it's talking about Rogue One. Okay, so it's really good and all, but it doesn't feel that exciting after a few watches. Yeah, I mean, one watch and you kind of have the end and you're like, whoa, For me, I'm like, that's kind of enough. I don't need to necessarily revisit it. Yeah, good point. Highlighting plot holes in the original trilogy as a means to defend critiquing of this sequel trilogy. Highlighting plot holes in the original trilogy as a means to defend critiquing is inherently flawed. I don't understand what that point is saying. I don't know. Moving on. I don't understand that sentence. I haven't watched Andor, so I can't speak to that. Acolyte is really good. I wouldn't know, but the clips that were forced upon me by Instagram would say otherwise. Padme owns a lot of Anakin's fall to the dark side with her complicity in their relationship and wanting that Tatooine more than acknowledging his cruel and questionable actions, such as the Sand People murders. That's crazy. I've never heard that. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I know that is kind of like a criticism, this right here, of the prequel trilogy, that she doesn't like press him on that necessarily, but I think that's a hot take. Again, this is supposed to be hot takes. She owns a lot of Anakin's fall to the dark side. Yeah, I mean, she was definitely complicit in trying to hide the relationship. I think this is kind of part of it. She's trying to hide the hide their relationship. I mean, she's a person of extreme political interest. He's a Jedi Knight, right? And it's like they're kind of the Romeo Juliet breaking all the rules. And so I feel like that plays into the tragedy that trying to preserve the relationship in secrecy actually ended up creating or going into the downfall of Anakin inevitably. People will probably love the sequels in the future the same way they love the prequels now. No. Oh, look at this. I was just about to say this. We are in the future. It's literally been 10 years since Force Awakens. No one speaks about it. Yeah, I mean, as time goes on, I mean, just for me personally, it's like I don't think it's aged that well. Rebels has much better writing than Clone Wars, even though the latter is still great. Yeah. Okay, so if we're talking about then Clone Wars, I'm presuming that's like, not trying to be a nerd, the Clone Wars, probably like TCW, like the Dave Filoni 7 seasons, as opposed to like Clone Wars, like the micro episodes. Rebels has much better writing than Clone Wars. I feel like I feel like it's a bit comparing apples to oranges, because I feel like the Clone Wars is meant to be episodic, and what's the word? Basically, I think that it is yeah, basically I think the Clone Wars functions as like anthologies. There we go. There's the word, anthologies. I feel like it is telling the story of the Clone Wars in bits and chunks. And you're following some of the main actors. You have some offbeat stories that are taking place. But at the same time, there's a very interesting case that is made for like the Clone Wars show as like comp noir propaganda that I've been really fascinated in. It's a very interesting take in perspective. But Rebels, I think, shines because it has one story that makes sense. It's a little more linear. So I think when it's like, it's hard to compare them because you're going arc by arc in the Clone Wars, where Rebels is meant to function a little bit more like a story. What is this? The Jedi are boring. The only interesting ones are the ones that like bending the rules. What a lame take. I don't even you have to elaborate. You can't say they're boring and then leave it at that. How are they not interesting? They literally have figured out how to like tap into the greater reality of the Force and like change reality, like affect reality to that degree. And it's like all the adventures and escapades that the Jedi go on, I feel like boring. It's like the ones bending the rules. It's like, I feel like that even shows just the complexity of Jedi, of prequel-era Jedi, right? Yeah. Or this is like, how is this upvoted 25 times? There's no hope for the future of Star Wars. Revenge of the Sith isn't great. What a terrible take. I feel like start to finish, it is fantastic. I feel like it is... Yeah, I don't understand how somebody could hold this opinion. The lightsaber fight on Mustafar sucks. I swear people say it's fantastic. Do so because it was supposed to be fantastic, but it wasn't. It was overindulgent CGI. No way. That the Battle of the Heroes, how does that suck? It's so intense and it's heartbreaking. It's great, but I don't like watching it. If that makes sense. Potentially, that makes sense. I know for the missus, she would be right there. For the missus, it makes her sad. So I would say that makes sense for that. I think from the beginning, just getting thrown right in, I think it's fantastic. Genuinely don't know how it gets glazed so much when the fight in the Phantom Menace exists. Yeah, Duel of the Fates is fantastic. Battle of the Heroes. Okay, and one thing that's super fascinating, I would say, let's talk about this, right? Let's talk about Battle of the Heroes. When you have the infamous high ground scene, I think it's the direct parallel to the Phantom Menace, where Obi-Wan effectively doesn't have the high ground with Maul, and he does a move to jump and flip over him and cut him in half. And you see Anakin posture to try and jump and flip and go over Obi-Wan, probably having heard of all the tales about Qui-Gon and that final duel of the fates in the Phantom Menace. And he's trying to use the same move that caused Obi-Wan victory against him. And I think that just plays into that so much more. Like, just a breakdown of Battle of the Heroes is... Yeah, well, I think we'll just show... Absolutely, it is fantastic. 25 upvotes, man. That's crazy. Revenge of the Sith isn't great. Liar! Anakin roared. What does that say? I gotta pull it up here. Animalistically, yes. Word of the day. Ahsoka is now a Sith Lord. Her master killed his master to become a Sith Lord. Then she killed his Force ghost to cheat death and undrown herself, making her the current Sith Lord. What are you even saying, man? Okay. Every piece of Star Wars media? Oh, dude, that's a broad category. That's books, comics, TV shows, movies. Since Return of the Jedi has made Star Wars worse. I disagree wholeheartedly. I don't want explanations for every corner and detail of the universe. It's better when we don't know. Yes, there is a degree to which mystery lives. And you need that. Like, I think not knowing Yoda's species or his backstory fully, it's like, yeah, we need that, the mystery. And I think maybe there's particular aspects you just shouldn't know. But no, like there's something in... Okay, there's a character named Rango Tell. Rango Tell. In the Phantom Menace, when the whole gang, Qui-Gon, Padme, Annie, Jar Jar, right? When they all show up to Tatooine, and they step out the aircraft, they're walking, right? They're walking, what is it, Mos Eisley, right? They're walking. There's this character in the background. Walks by, looks like he has a spacesuit on, or whatever. I remember, I'm like, I've watched The Phantom Menace so many times, I've never wondered who that guy is. And through some sleuthing and asking friends online and stuff, found out the species of the guy, found out who it is. It's this guy, Rango Tell. He has some awesome backstories written about him. And that, to me, the fact that somebody would like go deeper into that detail, I think that's what's so amazing about Star Wars. Everyone has a story. It feels like a real lived-in universe. Like, you could technically pluck out anyone, and they don't have to connect to the grander narrative, but they have more about them. I would say much like Tolkien, like the universe he made with Middle Earth. Like, I feel like it's definitely better. Wasn't the entire pop culture behind Star Wars? It was so full of mystery, people could make their own headcanon? No. Okay, but I mean, sure, there are things that where maybe like Han Solo, right? That's like Disney, but like Han Solo, where they like change his name, or they say here's how he got his name. I would say that, yeah, that is where things become problematic for sure. Okay, let me see. Yeah. I don't think it's a hot take at all. Lucas era fan. Hey, man. It's probably going to go well. Let's see. A cinematic universe reinterpreting the original print canon would have been wildly successful, even after the hype wore off. Profitable. I agree. That's a good take. Don't agree with that. I'm just going to skip. I don't want to keep talking about sequel trilogy. Solo was not that bad. I like the train heist scene. Yeah, the fun heist movie. Yeah, I feel like the train scene's pretty cool. The Last Jedi was basically terrible, and people are still salty. Oh, no, they're saying that it suffered because of that. Yeah, probably. Choreographically speaking, the best lightsaber duel of the franchise is Dooku versus Obi-Wan and Anakin from, Revenge of the Sith. Dooku versus Obi-Wan and Anakin. Interesting. That's the best one. Such an interesting one to choose. I would love to hear. Honestly, this is one where I think if people could defend that, that's very interesting because that is not up an opinion that I heard. Okay. Yeah, this one's just pooping on George Lucas, saying he basically doesn't know what he's doing, and basically it's only when outsiders mention Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, blah blah blah, he adopts it. There's so many behind the scenes things with George Lucas talking about how Star Wars worked. He does understand how it works. Just watch the behind the scenes things. Talks about it at length. Joseph Campbell, it's not outsiders. Joseph Campbell himself talks about Star Wars, and he had a relationship with George. This idea, or this is just misinformed for sure. The best is that last bout between Obi-Wan and Maul. Fight me. Yeah, I mean that is a good one in Rebels. Especially hearing it broken down and people are talking about like all the different positions. Like Charlie's like a longtime OG of this of the channel. He talks about it in a pretty cool way. Okay, we'll end on this. This double flashback order here. The best order to watch movies is double flashback order. Never heard of it. Not clicking the link. Oh, in the Phantom Menace. My bad. I've just been misunderstanding you all night, Aaron. Best is the last battle between Obi-Wan and Maul. Yeah. Duel of the Fates, man. Yes, sir. That is fantastic. That I didn't know this until, a couple years ago, but how they filmed it so fast they had to slow it down, like it was that intense, which is crazy. Never heard of this. 7 Solo, Rogue One, 4, 5, 1, 2. Oh, okay. I see what they're doing. I don't know about that. I think the best order to watch is 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Then the second best is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then after that, maybe 1, 2, Clone Wars. Kind of pick your poison there. Which one? 3, 4, 5, 6. I know there's people. What do they call it? Like the machete method. There's one where people watch it all chopped and screwed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there are so many more of these. Like if you look at the cursor, I don't know if you guys can see it. Look at this cursor here. There are, my goodness, there are so many of these that it's just insane. The sequels are the best films. That's just a lie. Chronologically, Clone Wars is far best order for kids 10 to 12. Interesting. But there are so many of these, and I've been interested to maybe go through these and pull out some of the best ones and make kind of like different videos about them because they're so fascinating. And then there's a whole bunch about the prequels, and there's a whole bunch about the EU. And it's interesting seeing kind of the fandom, and I know that this isn't representative of it. It's a very biased website with a very biased group of people, but I feel like this is very interesting to just see kind of the living dialogue regarding Star Wars, and what people's thoughts and opinions are. Some of them are terrible thoughts, but some of them I'm like, yeah, I agree. But this has been fun. Oh, I do want to tell you guys about one thing. Let's see if I can make it to... Oh, I don't even have it on our channel yet. But let me show you guys this. So we have... every year, we have this right here. I don't want to listen to it and show you guys, but every year we watch the holiday special. This will be our 5th annual holiday special watch party this year. We have it coming up. Let me get the exact date. I believe it is the Monday before Christmas. December 22nd. Monday, the 5th annual holiday special watch party. You heard it here. He's definitely trying to make it. You always have a seat at the table for the shared trauma of the holiday special, my friend. But yeah, we have some friends. We just get together every year and we watch it, and we slowly enjoy it more every single year. It's really fantastic, and we have some people this year who will be watching it for the first time with us on stream as well. So I feel like that'd be really good. But we're actually trying to set up a rhythm to have these nerdy cantinas come back more, and we might start opening these up again more. And then we'll also have life and lore streams coming back. One of our favorite things to do, pick a character and dive into their life and lore and the Star Wars universe. And I think we're actually going to do Rhoda the Hutt. Stinky. I think we're going to do Rhoda. We were thinking about Salacious Crumb or Rhoda. So that's going to be really fun. And then we're going to keep Nerdy Cantinas coming, and we have the holiday special coming up soon. You do not want to miss that. It is going to be a fantastic, glorious ride. But with that, I am Mr. 2 Star Wars Nerds. The missus is with the baby, but we got to chat books for quite a while. We will see you guys on another stream. But until then, may the Force be with you always.
This concludes our broadcast. Thanks for watching 2 Star Wars Nerds.